Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our lectures from the Cámara Peruana de Comercio Exterior, CAMEX. Okay. Today we're going to talk about the maritime contract. Okay, and as always, my name is Carlos Martinez. I am an English instructor and speaking coach. I was a former team leader at Pacifico University, and currently I am working as an EFL teacher at Mater Purísima School. As the title of our lecture today is going to be a broad view of what maritime contracts are. Okay, basically we're going to talk about first, what is the concept of these contracts and the general types of contracts that exist. We're not going to go into details of the contracts because, like, you know, we only have a limited amount of time, and these contracts go, if we go into the legal terms and into the legal details, we an hour is going to fall short. So what we're going to do is basically talk about the different types. We're going to review a little bit. I'm pretty sure you know about these concepts already in Spanish, but basically we're going to use them now in English. Remember that if for further information, always contact the Cámara Peruana de Comercio Exterior, so you can get about more detailed information. Like I said, this is just going to be a general overview of what these contracts are. Remember also that I can follow the conversation via Facebook, so I will be able to see, to answer your questions. And if I make any question, I will be able to participate. You will be able to participate with me during this short lecture, okay? Now, first, let's define what these contracts are, okay? The water transport contract is one in which, okay, one of the parties of the transporter or company of transport assumes the obligation of moving or driving people, passengers, or things delivered by another contracting party, the shipper, by means of the aquatic space, of course, through oceans and seas, okay? And through the use of a ship from one geographic location to another, the port of shipment to the port of destination, okay? So this is the general idea of what these contracts are about, okay? It's a contract where you have two parties. The shipper is going to take goods or people from the port of shipment, from the origin to the port of destination, okay? And now there needs to be some legality in it. There needs to be some, because people need to follow rules. There needs to be specifications of what needs to be done or what could be done, what should be done, right? All of this is done with an exchange of money, of price, okay? Which in the case, if you are transporting people, this price is demonstrated via a passage or a ticket. Whereas in the case of when you transport things, it receives the name of freight. Okay, so very simple. Very, like I said, this lecture is going to be very, very precise, very general view. Okay. Again, we have the transporter, the company of transport, and assumes the obligation of moving or driving people by another contracting party, which is the shipper, which is going to be there. So you have company A, company B, and then you have the shipper in the center, which is going to transport everything from the port of shipment to the port of destination. So we have three entities that are going to be involved in this transaction, right? The person who makes the product, the person who's going to receive the product, and the person or the end company who's going to transport is going to connect the dots. Okay. Very good. Okay, so like I said, very simple, very basic information. Let's now, when you guys make a contract by sea, there are two types of, it can be done in two different ways. First is the charter policy contract. The charter is going to be the company who's going to make the transport, and by the contract of bill of lading. We already know what this bill is about. Okay, so but still we're going to define each of these two a little bit more detail during the course of this lecture. Okay, Remember, transport by sea can be hired at two very different ways: the charter policy contract and the contract for bill of lading. Contract by charter policy, okay? This refers to the total capacity of the vessel, okay? When you, that whole ship is going to be for your use, okay? Transportation is always done in tramp vessels. It's the usual modality for the bulk transportation via bulk carriers of bulk load, okay? So tramp vessels, as you know, are the vessels that we use to move things around. In this type of vessels, it's common to contract the freight without including the cost of loading, stowage, unloads, and unloads, okay? Unlike conference ships that generally include these expenses on the freight fees, okay? So we have tramp vessels, which are individual vessels, and then we have conference ships, which are like these big companies that have that, it's like all included, right? Like if you want to make, and if you want to relate it to an example, it would be like an individual hotel that offers just one service, and then we have these hotels which offer everything, okay? So like I said, this is the difference. One, the tramp vessels will only offer the transport of the goods, but they won't include the loading, the stowage, unloading, loading it, and everything. Whereas in conference ships, they generally include everything in the contract, okay? So you have to decide which one you're going to contract or hire. And it is usually about shipping solid or liquid from a single sender to a single receiver. Okay, this means that company A is going to send something to company B. Remember, so like I said, when you contract by charter policy, you are going to hire the whole boat, the whole vessel. Second, you have two options, right? The vessels, that tramp vessels, or the conference ships. Tramp vessels are the ones that basically work individually, okay? And they only move things, but they don't take care of anything else. You have to all the other services need to be done individually or separately, okay? This is when you use tramp vessel. But when you use the conference ships, here everything is all included: the loading, the unloading, the stowage, and everything else, okay? So of course you will decide which one you want to hire. And again, it is usually when two companies or two entities are making a business, okay? So company A is shipping to company B, okay? Oops, I'm sorry, can we go back? Now there are three types of charter contracts. First is the naked hull charter contract. The second one is the voyage charter contract. And the last one is the time charter contract, okay? Remember that all of these are from this type, this original type, the contract by charter policy, right, okay? So these are the three types that we have: the naked hull, the voyage, and the time charter contract, okay? Now, which is which? Let's talk about each one. But first, let's review. Before we go into that. I'm going to ask you a question. What is a maritime contract? Well, how would you define America? Okay, remember that I can read your answers in Facebook chat. So I don't know. Tell me how would you define a maritime contract? I am reading your answers. I'm reading your options. Very simple. How would you define it? How would you define it? Its name is in the title. Okay, let me see. Let me see if I can read some of the answers that you give in Facebook. Okay, so yes, a maritime contract is when one party assumes the obligation of moving or driving people or things delivered by another contracting party. Okay, so one company pays another company to deliver goods. How many ways can transport be hired? How many ways can transport be hired? You mentioned it in the last slide. Do you remember? The first one was the charter policy contract. The charter policy contract. And the second one was the contract for bill of lading. Okay, so now we're going to, like I mentioned before, we specified three different ways, three different sub forms of the charter policy contract, and we are going to talk about them right now. Okay, so remember, what is a maritime contract? Is when one party assumes the obligation of transporting goods from one place from the port of shipment to the port of arrival. And then how many ways can transports by sea be hired? By the charter policy contract and by the contract for bill of lading. Very good. So when we mentioned the types of charter contracts, the first one that was mentioned was the naked hull charter contract, okay? This is in a specific category of the charter contract. So this is the kind of charter is also designated as the bareboat charter. Okay, so this is another name for this type of contract, the bareboat contract, for which reason a person called a charterer for a certain time achieves enjoyment and total control of a ship. So you are in total control of a ship, accepting the entire responsibility for its navigation, administration, and use in exchange for a remunerative rent to the owner or the operator of the vessel. Okay, so again, it is in a specific category of the charter contract. And it's also called sometimes the bareboat charter contract. In this case, the person called the charterer receives for a specific amount of time the enjoyment and the total control of the ship. They accept the entire responsibility for its navigation, for its administration, and for the use. And in exchange, you pay like a rent, or you pay money, okay, to the owner or the operator of the vessel, okay. So this is where you have total control of the boat and everything that is related to it, okay. Total control of the boat and everything that is related to it. That is the naked hull charter contract or the bareboat charter contract, okay. Next, we have the voyage charter. Okay, it refers to making available to the charter all or some spaces of the vessel likely to be loaded. So this is different compared to the naked hull, because the naked hull, all the boat it's at your disposal. Here, you get specific locations or in a specific amount of space inside the vessel for your use. Okay, it means that you're going to share the capacity of the boat with other people or other companies. Okay, so the difference with the naked hull charter is that here you are in complete control of all the vessel, whereas here you have a space or an amount of space that will be designated to you. Okay, so you decide how much space you're going to use, or how much space you need, and of course you negotiate the price with this. Okay, good. Next is the timed charter. Okay, in this type of charter, the ship owner commits to place the vessel at the disposal of the charterer for a specified period of time. Okay, so you can transport your products, and during which it will hold the free operation of the ship on its own and only subject to certain exclusions. Okay, so you decide how long you're going to use the ship. Okay, here you have complete control of the ship, but now for a specific amount of time. It's not like in the first one where you have complete control of the ship for your use, and the time is undetermined. Here, you only charge it for a certain period of time. Okay, a certain period of time. It is valid between the ports that are determined by the charter and within the limits agreed upon, and where the ship owner will continue with his financial duties and will be in charge of navigation and technical administration of the vessel. So you put limits on time and distance and locations, okay? If you exceed the time, then the owner will take back control of his vessel. If you cross if you go to another port that is different from this contract, then again the owner of the ship will take back control of its vessel. Okay, so remember, the time charter, it's time based. You initially set a time, and you initially set locations where you're going to go to and from, and you cannot surpass that. You need to stay within the time that you have decided and concluded with the owner, and you have to stay within the limits. If you pass these limits or time, then the original owner will take back control of its vessel. Okay, sorry. So that's the second one. Now, before we go into the bill of lading contract, let's review what a bill of lading is. A bill of lading serves three important functions. First, it's the cargo receipt. Okay, so what are you carrying in the boat? Second, it is the evidence of the terms of the control of transport. Okay, so in this is an evidence that's going to show you where you're picking it up and where you're taking it and what you are carrying. Okay, and it's also a negotiable document for the goods described in it. Okay, so it's a valid document. What is stated in this bill cannot be modified or cannot be changed. And if in case there was, it needs to be reported. Okay, so this is basically the three functions that the bill of lading serves for. Okay, a cargo receipt as evidence of the terms and control of the transport, and also as a negotiable document for the goods described in it. Okay, now let's explain a little bit more. When the ship owner receives the cargo on board the ship, he extends an acknowledgement stating having received the goods that are described within the quantities and apparent good conditions, unless there are observations to be transported on a certain vessel to a declared port. Okay, so when you receive, when the ship owner receives the cargo, he needs some document that would say how you are receiving the goods, how many goods you're receiving, and that they are in apparent good condition. And if there are any observations, you need to take note of these. Okay, the bill of lading is not only a receipt; it is also a contract or evidence that is made between the ship owner and the person who is sending the products. Okay, so the bill of lading is important because it's a proof. It's something that demonstrates, okay, I am taking this amount and they are in this condition, and I'm taking it from here to here. Okay, so it serves as a proof. Transport rules detailed here are subject to the Hague Rules, which is an international convention that defines rights and obligations of maritime carriers. So it is an internationally set document that serves its purpose. Okay, so this is also bonding. This will also give you rights and duties, and could serve in case of proof, in case you need it. Okay, and again, this is certified by the Hague Rules. Okay, the international courts rules. Now, let's see. I'm going to ask you a question of some things that we have just read about or talked about. What is a naked hull contract? What do you think is a naked hull contract? What is a voyage charter? What is a time charter? And what would you say is the bill of lading? Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to try to think. We just mentioned these 4 topics, and let's see if you remember what they are about. Remember, I can read your comments here in Facebook, so I can see what you are, what are your opinions and what you think. I don't know if there's a problem with the comment area, because the last time after I finished after I finished with the lecture, I saw that there were a lot of comments, but during the lecture itself, I could not read any. So hopefully that doesn't happen today. So what do you think? What is the naked whole charter contract? What do you think it is? Who can tell me? We just mentioned it. We just mentioned it. Let's see. What do you think is the naked whole charter contract? Okay. So if you said any of these four, then you were right. But now let's try to match. I want you to match naked whole charter contract, voyage charter, and the time charter, also the bill of lading. Which is which? Which is which? Can you tell me? Okay, so let's see. Is the naked whole charter contract making available to the charter all or some of the spaces of the vessel? Is it evidence of the terms of the control of the transport? Is it the ship owner commits to place the vessel at the disposal of the charter for a specified period of time? Or a person called the charter for a certain time achieves enjoyment and total control of a ship? Okay, so if you said that the naked whole charter contract is when a person called the charter for a certain time achieves enjoyment and the total control of a ship, then you were correct. Remember, this is the type of contract where the boat is for you. You decide how you're going to administrate it, okay? But you're also obliged to all the responsibilities about the ship, okay? You are responsible for all the responsibilities regarding the ship. What about voyage charter? Okay, so we have three more options. Making available to the charter all or some of the spaces of the vessel. 2, it is evidence of the terms of control of transport. And 3, the ship owner commits to place the vessel at the disposal of the charter for a specified period of time. Voyage charter. We mentioned this too a little bit a while ago. Okay, so let's see. If you guessed that it is making available to the charter all of some of the space of the vessel, it was correct. Remember that the difference between the naked whole charter and the voyage charter is basically how much space you can use on the vessel. The naked whole charter can use the 100% of the space available and basically takes over the ship. Whereas the voyage charter, you will get some space, but and maybe all the space, but you are not in control of all the vessel. You are only in control of the space that you have acquired. So you maybe have to share the vessel with other companies or other entities, or you might have it all for yourself, but the boat is still under control of the owner of the boat. Okay. Whereas in the naked whole charter contract, no, you are in complete control of the vessel and also in charge of all the responsibilities that this might need. Now we have two more, the time charter and the bill of lading. Which is which? We have two more options, time charter and bill of lading, and then we have it's evidence of the terms of the control of transport, and the ship owner commits to place the vessel at the disposal of the charter for a specified period of time. Remember, I'm reading your comments. I'm reading your comments here in the comments area. Okay, so time charter is number 3. Let's see. Yes, It's correct. Time charter is number 3. The ship owner commits to place the vessel at the disposal of the charter for a specified period of time. And of course, bill of lading is the evidence of the terms of control of the transport, okay? So to summarize, the naked hull charter contract is a person called a charter for a certain time achieves enjoyment and total control of a ship. Control is total. Voyage charter, you also have control, but now it's not total. You have control of the space. You might have all the space, you might have some of the space, but the ship is still in control of its original owner. Then we have the time charter where you have control of a vessel for a specific period of time, okay? And you cannot cross nor the limits of the trip nor the time, because if you do, once you do that, the original owner will take back control of his vessel. Okay, so you have to be careful with that type of contract. And finally, the bill of lading, which is basically a document that serves as evidence of the terms of the control of transport. So here you will collocate what you're carrying, the conditions that you're carrying them in, the weight, size, and all the details related to that. Very good. Next. Now, the contract for bill of lading. In this contract, each shipment occupies only one fraction of the ship's capacity and almost always consists of general merchandise, unified or not, that need fast means of transport and regular lines to be sent to its destination directly or through transfer, okay? So this is like basically the containment of the what is inside a container, okay? Or what is inside of your many containers. It depends on how much space you have hired. Okay, so in this contract, each shipment occupies only one fraction of the space of the ship's capacity, and almost always consists of general merchandise, basically made as a unit, like, or bulk, you know, like, and needs a fast way of transportation that could go to transfer or directly, okay, with many stops or directly. So remember, this is, now we went from all the ship with the naked hull contract to just in a specific place on the ship, which with a certain capacity, and basically for merchandise, you know, units of merchandise. Okay, any questions so far? No? Okay, let's continue. Now, there are some things that you need to know, okay? In each contract, there are some terms that are important. For example, the late time must be fixed. The time on yard must be fixed. The dispatch money must also be fixed. And also certain clauses such as safe harbor. What is late time? What do you consider late time? Late time is the period of time authorized for a vessel to carry out loading or unloading in a port. And that is stipulated in the charter contract. So when you make your contract, you will decide how much late time, or you will sign and everything. All of these things have a certain cost and fees. What will be the late time for your vessel to unload or load products in port, okay? All of this is going to be noted in your contract. Then we have time on yard. These are the days at port that exceed the lay time and that the charter must pay with a surcharge fixed in the policy. So this means, for example, let's say your lay time is a week and you decide to stay not 7 days, but you decided to, your vessel was in port for, let's say, 8 to 9 days. So these 2 extra days will be time on yard and they will have to be paid, okay? Because they have exceeded the lay time that you have in your contract, okay? And you must pay in every port and every type of negotiation. There's usually information on what is going to be the price or the fee for the time on yard, okay? So you know that if you decided in the contract, it should say, okay, the lay time will be 1 week. The time on yard will be, let's say, a certain amount of dollars or soles per day. Okay, so you just multiply the amount. Okay, if you stay 1, 2, 3, or 4 days more, then that's the time on yard which you will have to pay. Holidays are generally included in the stay and those lost by strikes and others. Okay, So this holidays, and for example, if there's problems for strikes or some kind of disaster or whatever, they are normally included in the time of stay. Okay, so you need to make sure when you make a contract to verify how much lay time you need, how much time on yard you think will need in case of any special situation, and how much you and what is the fee. Because you remember again, nothing can be led to surprise. All this information should be collocated in the document. Okay, it should be stated, and it should be noted for you, the person who is sending the product, and also the person who is going to receive the product, to know, to avoid surprises, or to avoid any uncomfortable situation that might occur. Okay, so remember that first we need to set the lay time, which is how much time the vessel is going to be at port to load and unload products. The time on yard, how much time you might need additionally to your lay time. Okay, how much time you might need additionally for this time. Okay, and again, you said it. Okay, if I need more time, it's going to be 3 or 2 days, and this is how much, and this is the price it's going to cost me. Okay, so if that happens, you know how much you're going to pay. You don't need to ask how much. You don't need to ask about anything. Okay, everything is going to be stipulated in the contract, and then like I said, you will avoid problems. Okay, and also remember that holidays and any day that avoids you to complete your unloading or unloading, those days will be included in the stay. Okay, so take them into account. Always take them into account. Strikes are sometimes unknown when they're going to happen, but in case they do, you know that they're going to add to your time of stay. So take them into account and just do your math, and so you know how much you need to pay in case you need these extra period of time days. Dispatch money. Okay, this is also important to include in any contract. In the context of maritime law, dispatch money refers to the amount paid by a ship owner to the charter of the ship. Okay, this money is paid to the charter of a vessel if the cargo is downloaded at the fast port or long before actually provided for in the agreement between the lessee and the ship owner. Okay, the money is given in the form of rewards to the charter for unloading the goods quickly. So what does this mean? That in your contract, the owner, you tell the person who's transporting your goods, okay, you know, I am going to give you a bonus if you are able to first arrive to my destination before time, and of course unloading it in a very quick manner. Okay, so this is like a sort of incentive or reward that you pay your charter for unloading their goods quickly and safely. Okay, so this is normal conduct in maritime law. Dispatch money. Okay, you're going to give, it's like a reward or a prize that you pay your charter for example, you decide that your product should be there in 10 days, and you say 10 days because that's the amount of time that maybe your product needs, because more than that time your product might get spoiled if it's food or perishable products, or maybe that's the due date that you need your products to arrive at this location. So normally the time that we hire to send our goods, they need it has a reason. It has a reason. Okay, I want my goods to reach my port of destination in less than a week, because more than that, then I will lose money. So you will make this amendment to your contract where it says dispatch money of a certain amount. Okay, so this is like an incentive for the company to do basically first transport your goods safely, you know, because it's not that, okay, I'm going to rush to my destination and just throw everything off the ship, and it doesn't matter if they are in a good condition or not. No, this reward or incentive is due when you, like I said, you reach your destination before the required time. Second, you upload and you unload the products in a safe way, in a quick way. Okay, so if for me it was urgent for my products to receive its destination in a week and you arrived in 5 days, then I have 2 extra days to do more things. So that is beneficial for me. So this incentive is good because it's helpful for both people. The company receives an incentive and I get my products to my destination quicker and in a safe manner. Okay, so that is dispatch money. And safe harbor clause. Now this is a clause and also called the always afloat clause. Okay, this is also important because basically because to take care of your vessel. Okay, so an always afloat is a contract term that requires that the ship does not rest on the ground. Okay, you require that your boat always be floating. Okay, it never touches the ground. In some ports, a ship is stranded when approaching or at the dock. Okay, because what happens is that once the boat arrives at a certain port, it is taken by the tows, by the towboats. It is taken to let's say its parking space. Like if imagine it were cars, okay, to its parking space. And when it gets there, there is not enough space between the sea line and the bottom of the boat that the boat hits the ground, and it could damage the boat. It could be difficult to leave later, or just basically be dangerous. Okay, so we don't want this. Okay, we don't want this. We want our products to arrive safely at a safe location, and everything be safe. The boat, the personnel, the people, the things that it's carrying, etc., etc. So it's important to have this safe harbor clause. Okay. In order to prevent the vessel to be ordered to follow to a place where it cannot load or download without touching the ground. So if this safe harbor clause is not specified in your contract, then that means that you won't be able to complain, or you won't be able to say anything if your boat ends up stranded, okay, when they approach the dock. Okay, even though it sounds obvious, like you can say, but wait, why would somebody cause my boat damage and nothing could happen? Because that's the way it is. Okay, if you arrive to a port, they will take you to the space that is available. Okay, and you would need to reach a place that that will fit your boat, right? But the ports will only lead you to the available space. Okay, that's their job. Okay, the towboat is going to take you to the available space, disregarding the fact if your boat can fit or not in the depth of your hull will fit or not there. So if you have this clause, then the port, the people at the port will have to take you to a place where your boat will never touch the ground. Your boat will always be floating, okay? Or to a place where you just can only access safely after downloading part of the boat. So what does this mean? That maybe you will make a prior stop, that unload some of your contents, and maybe, you know, because of weight, the boat will go a little bit higher, and then the boat could continue to a place where it could be finally stationed. Okay, but you need to unload some things first, and then you can continue to this place. Okay, so that is also a clause. Okay, or maybe you know that tides happen. The water comes up, the water comes down. So they won't take you to places that are only accessible in spring tidal conditions. So what happens is that if the tide is against you, you're going to come back and your boat is going to be sitting on the ground. So no, you need to be careful with these things. Okay, but if you don't have this clause, then there won't be any way of complaints. Okay, that is why it is always the always safely afloat clause is inserted in the charter policy. You need to make it happen. Okay, you need to say, you need to mention it, because if you don't, then you cannot complain. There won't be space for complaints if you didn't sign this clause. Okay, you need to mention it. You need to have it written in paper. Okay, so remember, the safe harbor clause is that your boat is always afloat, that your boat is not stranded when you approach the dock, that they will take you to a place where you can unload, upload and unload all your products without touching the ground. Or if there isn't a space that doesn't, that where this cannot be done, they could at least give you the option of unloading some of your products before in an area prior to your parking or your docking area, and then you can continue, because after unloading your materials, your boat of course will get higher, and then you can go to a place where you can finally dock. And also, so they won't take you to a place, okay, now there's water, now look, your boat is not touching the ground, but you didn't know that this was a place where tides are very, are very strong. And then when you come back, the boat is sitting on sand, okay? So it is important for you to have this clause to avoid problems or future complaints or any issue with the docking area, okay? Good. Now, we're almost through, and now I'm going to ask you, what is lay time? Think, what is lay time? We mentioned it. What is time on yard? Okay, what does that expression mean, time on yard? What is dispatch money? Okay, what is dispatch money? And what is the safe harbor clause we just mentioned? Okay, I'm going to give you a minute or two for you to think what each of these terms mean. Lay time, time on yard, dispatch money, and safe harbor clause. And then we will try to define them. Okay, remember that I can read your comments. Thank you, Melissa, for your stars. Hello, Pinela. Hello, Cindy, and Miriam. Finally, I'm reading comments, because the last time, like I said, when I was reading the comments, I couldn't see anybody. And then when the comments came back, there were like 30 comments or questions that I wasn't answering. So I apologize if this is the case again today. Okay. So do you know what lay time, time on yard, dispatch money, safe harbor clause are? Now I'm going to give you some options to make it easier. So now we have days at port that exceed the lay time. Second, money is given in the form of a reward, to the charter for unloading the goods quickly. A contract term that requires that the ship does not rest on the ground. And finally, period of time authorized for a vessel to carry out the loading or unloading in a port. Okay, so again, days of port that exceed the lay time, money given in the form of a reward to the charterer for unloading the goods quickly, a contract term that requires that the ship does not rest on the ground, and the period of time authorized for a vessel to carry out the loading or unloading in a port. Okay, so let's see, lay time. What do you think is lay time? What do you think is lay time? Let's see, I'm going to read your answers here in the chat area. What do you think is lay time? I'm reading you guys. What do you think is lay time? Lay time is the fourth definition. Let's see. Yes, the lay time is the period of time authorized for a vessel to carry out the loading or the unloading in a port. Very good. So this time is written down in your contract. Next, time on yard. What is time on yard? What is time on yard? We have days at port that exceed the lay time. Money is given in form of in the form of a reward to the charter for unloading the goods quickly, and a contract term that requires that the ship does not rest on the ground. So time on yard, number one, let's see. Yes, very good. The time on yard is the days of port that exceed the lay time, okay? So if you decided that your lay time is going to be a week and you want to be careful and you want to be, as a matter of caution, you decide that there's going to be 3 more days of time on yard. So you know that if you cross the lay time stipulated, and then you have 3 days, which will you have to pay for because this is extra time to complete your loading or unloading, okay? But still, you need to specify how much you're going to pay per day in the contract, okay? Next, dispatch money and safe harbor clause. Dispatch money and safe harbor clause. We have 2 more options. Money is given in the form of a reward to the charter for unloading the goods quickly and for arriving at your port of destination quickly too. And remember that this definition needs to include the fact that you receive all your products in a good condition. You don't need to, if you receive your products destroyed, just what's the point of arriving quicker and unloading them quicker if they're going to be destroyed, right? So money given in the form of reward to the charter. Is it dispatch money or is it safe harbor clause? What do you think? Is it dispatch money or is it the safe harbor clause? Remember that I'm reading your participation in the chat area. Okay, let's see. Very good. Dispatch money is, well, money given in the form of a reward for unloading and unloading the goods quickly and also arriving at the port in a quick manner. And of course that that all the contents and all your products are receive a good treatment and they arrive in their port of destination in a good way, in good conditions. And finally, the safe harbor clause. It's a contract term that requires that the ship does not rest on the ground. Okay, so you want to be careful. You want to take the necessary precautions for your vessel. So you sign, or in your contract, you sign that your boat should never ever touch the ground, right? You should never ever touch the ground. Okay, and you need to make the necessary accommodations for that. Okay, so for example, don't take me to a place where it's okay, it's high tide, so my boat is going to fit perfectly, but I forgot that in low tide your boat will touch the ground. Okay, so no, I mean, you don't want to leave your boat perfectly docked at the port and then when you come back it's sitting on sand and rocks. Okay, so no, that's not a good situation. So you should try to avoid it, and you should try to make note via a document that you won't allow this. Also, maybe there's no space for your boat to safely dock, but unless you unload some of your cargo, and then your boat can dock perfectly without any problem. So if this needs to be done, also write it down. Okay. Before docking, let's unload some content. Okay. And finally, of course, like I said, your boat will never ever touch the ground in any situation or scenario, but this has to be written down in your contract. If not, then you might have some issues. Okay. And if you do, there is no way for you to complain. Okay. So basically this has been our lecture for today. Like I said, very general topics and very general content. Remember that we're having these lectures Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, always with topics and related to business, and we might start having some real English classes where we can teach not only business English, but you know, more a little bit of vocabulary, maybe some grammar, maybe some collocated English in context for business use and stuff like that. But again, remember that we take into account all your suggestions and your comments through the chat area or with the Cámara Peruana de Comercio Exterior contacts. Okay, so if you have any other questions, I will thank you very much. This is I'm going to give you my email. My email account is there, so you can contact me in case if you want more information. The same is with my WhatsApp number, and finally my LinkedIn account for you to follow me. Okay. Thank you very much for the people who followed us in the chat area. Ms. Vargas, Miss Cindy, Miss Melissa, Mr. Ramirez. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your interaction. Remember that I always like my classes to be interactive. So if there's a way for you to talk to me, I will happily answer your questions. Okay. So again, I wish you a great weekend. Enjoy your Saturday, and we will continue. I will wait for a few minutes if you have any questions, and then thank you. I'm glad you learned. I'm glad. Okay, this is the purpose of these lectures. Okay, I'm going to wait a few minutes in case you have any questions or comments in the chat area of Facebook, and if not, then I will see you next week. Okay, any questions that I may ask regarding the topic or regarding regarding English in general that I can help you with? Mm-hmm. Remember, I am reading your comments. Hmm? Let's see. No comments then? Okay. Well then, thank you very much. I will see you next week. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you, and goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Ms. Vargas. Bye-bye, Mr. Ramirez. Bye-bye, Ms. Guzman. Bye-bye, Ms. Kawana. Take care. Have a good weekend.